Family can be complicated. I'd always known that, but I never realized just how deep the cracks ran until that night. It started like every other mundane evening. A quick stop by my parents' house to fix their Wi-Fi. That's my unofficial job in the family. The tech fixer. The one they call. When something breaks while my younger brother Darren lives his life free from those small burdens. It was around 7 p.m. when I stepped through their front door. My dad was pacing the living room like a caged animal. His brow furrowed, lips pressed into a thin line. My mom stood by the window clutching her phone like it was her last connection to sanity. She didn't even glance at me. Typical. Wi-Fi out again. I asked, already heading toward the basement where the router lived among the old boxes and forgotten exercise equipment. My dad just grunted, not even pausing his restless loop. I took the stairs 2 at a time, grateful for the excuse to escape the tense silence upstairs. As I crouched beside the blinking router, I heard my parents' muffled voices filtering through the air vent. I've always had sharp ears, and years of overhearing their whispered conversations had trained me to catch every word. He could be looking at serious time if this goes wrong. My mom whispered, her voice tight with fear. We can't let him go down like this. My dad's response was a low, gravelly rumble. We'll do what we have to. We've still got the savings. It'll cover his bail. Maybe even a decent lawyer if we pull some strings. I froze, one hand still on the router, the other gripping the basement floor to keep my balance. I didn't need to guess who they were talking about. Darren, their golden boy. The one who always managed to turn every mistake into someone else's problem. He was 3 years younger, but somehow he'd always been the center of their universe while I was just there. I finished resetting the router and straightened up, my mind racing. They were talking about draining their entire savings. Everything they'd worked for ready to be thrown away to cover for Darren's latest disaster. I should have felt something, anger, maybe hurt, but all I felt was a hollow sense of inevitability. Of course they'd do this. Of course Darren would mess up, and of course they'd break themselves to save him. That's the script we'd all been handed, the roles we never got to choose. As I headed back upstairs, my dad intercepted me at the stairwell. His eyes didn't even meet mine. He just held out his phone. Can you help me figure out this account transfer? I need to move some funds. I looked at the screen. It was an old savings account, one I knew they'd set up years ago as their emergency cushion. The account that was supposed to be their retirement safety net, their last line of defense. You sure you want to do this? I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. He just gave me a look, one that said he didn't have time for my questions. I handed the phone back, the screen reflecting my own blank stare for a second before he snatched it away. Without another word, I stepped past him, my pulse hammering in my ears. I reached the back door and stepped outside, the cool night air hitting my face like a slap. I leaned against the old wooden fence, staring at the same patch of grass I'd stared at as a kid. The same spot where I'd once played catch with my dad before Darren was born. Before everything shifted. I pulled my phone from my pocket, the screen lighting up with a text from my best friend Emily. She'd sent a meme about chaotic family dynamics. I almost laughed at the timing, but the bitterness in my throat choked the sound off. I shoved the phone back in my pocket and took a deep breath. I needed to get out of my own head, but the words I'd overheard kept playing in a loop, echoing in the silence around me. I didn't stick around to say goodbye. I just walked to my car, pulled out of the driveway, and headed home. I didn't even notice the tears streaming down my face until I parked outside my apartment. That night, I lay awake, my mind spiraling through every moment I'd ever played second to Darren. Every forgotten birthday, every missed graduation. Every time my parents had shrugged off my problems because, well, Darren needed them more, I felt the familiar sting of being the backup plan. The spare tire they only remembered when their golden child needed a lift. And in that moment, something shifted. I wasn't just hurt anymore, I was angry. Not the hot, explosive kind, but the slow, smoldering burn that settles in your bones and refuses to let go. They'd made their choice. They'd shown me exactly where I stood. And maybe it was time I showed them what it felt like to be left behind. A week after that basement realization, I got a call from my doctor. I'd been putting off a minor surgery for months. Nothing life-threatening, but serious enough that I couldn't ignore it anymore. The pain had gotten worse, creeping into my daily life, making every step a reminder that I needed to stop stalling. I hesitated for a second before dialing my parents. Stupid maybe, but some part of me still hoped they'd come through. Maybe for once I'd be the one they chose to save. The phone rang twice before my dad picked up. His voice was as flat as ever. Yeah, I took a deep breath. Hey, I need a favor. Silence, not the warm waiting kind, but the cold expectant pause of someone already bracing to say no. I have to get this surgery. I continued, trying to keep my tone steady. I can't work for a while if I don't do it, and, well, I'm a bit short. Could you guys help me out? Just a loan? I'll pay it back. For a moment, I thought the line had dropped. But then I heard the faint sound of my mom in the background, probably standing a few feet away, eavesdropping like she always did. Finally, my dad spoke each word sharp and final. If one of you has to go, it's better you than him. I blinked, my breath catching in my throat. I opened my mouth to respond, to push back, to demand an explanation, but my mind was blank. In the background, I heard my mom's voice clear, and without hesitation, Darren's always been the priority. You know that? You're on your own. I squeezed my eyes shut, the room around me spinning as their words crashed into me, blunt and unforgiving. I managed to choke out. Thanks for letting me know where I stand. My dad hung up without another word. I stared at my phone for a long moment, the call screen glowing with their names before it flickered back to my home screen. My reflection in the glass was blank hollow, a stranger staring back at me. I dropped the phone onto the couch beside me, leaning forward, my elbows digging into my knees as I tried to breathe. I wasn't even angry. Not yet. Just numb. It felt like every disappointing moment in my life had coiled around me, tightening like a noose. Every forgotten birthday, every ignored achievement, every time they chose Darren over me, it all flooded back. I'd always known where I stood, but hearing it out loud like that, it hit different. I tried to distract myself, flipping through TV channels, scrolling aimlessly on my phone, but nothing stuck. My mind kept circling back to that call. Those words, if one of you has to go, it's better you than him. I texted Emily, not sure what I even wanted to say. Maybe just to feel a little less alone. She replied quickly, her messages full of concern and half-baked justifications for my parents. Maybe they're just stressed. Maybe Darren's in real trouble this time. I tossed my phone onto the coffee table, watching it spin to a stop. It was always like this. I was always the backup, the one who fixed things, the one who stayed quiet, the one who didn't make a fuss. For a while, I just sat there, the quiet of my apartment pressing in on me, thick and suffocating. My thoughts swirled, a dark, endless loop of old grievances and fresh wounds. Eventually, I forced myself to my feet, pacing the tiny living room. The anger started to creep in. Then a slow, simmering heat that built in my chest, tightening my jaw and balling my hands into fists. They'd chosen him. Again. Without a second thought. Without a hint of regret. That night, I barely slept. I lay awake, staring at the cracks in my ceiling, the dim city lights casting shifting shadows across my walls. Memories flickered through my mind. Childhood soccer games, they never came to science fairs. They ignored birthdays marked by quick phone calls if I was lucky. I felt a bitterness bloom in my chest, spreading like wildfire. It wasn't just about the money, the surgery, or the words they'd thrown at me. It was about a lifetime of being second, of being less of, being the afterthought. They only remembered when they needed something. By morning, my exhaustion had hardened into something sharper. A resolve, a purpose. I wasn't going to play the backup plan anymore. If they'd decided I was disposable, then fine. I'd show them what that really meant. I picked up my phone, scrolling past missed texts from Emily, a couple of work emails, and a spam message from some unknown number. I opened my banking app. My eyes narrowing as I thought back to my dad's demand to help him transfer funds. They'd built their lives on the assumption that I'd always be there, the silent, reliable backup. Maybe it was time to remind them what life without a safety net felt like. I spent the next few days in a fog, running through every bitter memory I'd ever buried. Every time I'd dropped everything to help them, every ignored call unless they needed a favor, every forgotten birthday. I let it all rise to the surface, feeding the anger until it burned hot and sharp, clearing the numbness from my mind. They wanted to act like I was disposable. Fine. I'd make myself disappear from their lives one step at a time. The first thing I did was log into their old utility accounts. I'd helped set them up years ago when my parents first moved into their new place. Back then, they'd used my credit to secure better rates. My information to keep things running smoothly. I hadn't even thought twice about it, just assumed it was what family did for each other. That morning, I pulled every piece of my data off their accounts: electricity, water, gas. Even the Wi-Fi I'd fixed 1,000 times. I stripped my name, my card details, my contact information from all of it. It took a few frustrating hours on the phone, navigating hold music and barely trained customer service reps, But by lunchtime, I'd wiped myself from their financial lives. I took a deep breath as I ended the last call, my hands shaking slightly. It felt good, like I'd finally loosened the grip they'd had on me for so long. Next, I turned to their shared banking. My dad had never been great with technology, and over the years, he'd leaned on me to set up everything from online bill pay to automatic transfers. I logged in and canceled every auto draft connected to my accounts, cleared out the joint savings account they'd once asked me to link for emergencies, and switched the security settings so they couldn't just stroll back in without my help. They'd notice soon enough. Maybe when the lights flickered off or when the water bill came due without a backup card to cover it. I didn't bother texting or calling to warn them. They'd made their choice, I was just making mine. A few days later, I got a call from my mom. I almost didn't pick up my thumb hovering over the reject button before I sighed and let it connect. "Hey," I said, keeping my tone neutral. There was a long pause on the other end, a telltale sign that she was about to ask for something. Finally, she sighed, her voice tight and tired. "The water bill isn't going through. It says the account is invalid. Did you do something?" I felt a small, twisted smile tug at my lips. "Nope, maybe check with Dad. He's always been good at figuring that stuff out, right?" Another pause. I could almost hear her jaw clench. "We're having a hard time right now. You know that Darren's things are complicated." "Yeah, I got that impression," I replied, letting the silence stretch until she broke first. "Can you just fix it? I don't have time for this." I closed my eyes, forcing myself to stay calm. I'd promised myself I wouldn't fall back into old habits, wouldn't let them pull me back into their mess. "No, I can't figure it out." Before she could respond, I hung up, tossing my phone onto the couch beside me. It buzzed a few times, her name flashing on the screen, but I ignored it. That night, I deleted every family group chat I'd ever been roped into, removed myself from every shared Google Doc, every calendar invite, every lingering reminder that I'd once been their backup plan. The next morning, I woke up to a series of increasingly frantic texts from my dad. He'd clearly just discovered the mess I'd made, and the messages quickly escalated from confusion to anger. "Why can't I access the bank account? Did you change the passwords? You need to fix this now." I set my phone down without responding, letting his demands pile up as I made myself breakfast. Later that day, Emily called. I hesitated for a moment before picking up. She cut straight to the point, her tone wary. "Hey, did you do something to piss off your parents? Your mom called me twice this morning, freaking out about some bills." I leaned back on my couch, kicking my feet up on the coffee table. "Yeah, I might have pulled the plug on a few things." She let out a low whistle. "Wow, didn't think you had it in you." I laughed, the sound sharper than I intended. "Me neither." She hesitated, her tone softening. "Are you okay?" I paused, my mind flashing back to that brutal phone call, to the casual way my dad had written me off. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just done." She didn't push, and I was grateful for it. We talked for a few more minutes before she had to head into a meeting, and I hung up, feeling a strange mixture of relief and anxiety. That night, I poured myself a glass of cheap red wine and sat by my apartment window staring out at the dim city lights. For the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt untethered, disconnected, free. They'd tried to make me disposable. Now I was making it real. A week passed, then another. My parents' calls grew more frequent, more frantic. I ignored them all, letting the missed calls pile up like snow on an abandoned driveway. Every time my phone lit up with their names, I felt that slow burn of satisfaction, the kind that comes from watching someone finally face the consequences they've ignored for years. Then one morning, my neighbor, Mrs. Ramirez, caught me in the hallway. She's this sweet, nosy old lady who's known me since I moved into the building. She leaned over her walker, her eyes sharp behind thick glasses. "Your dad came by the other day," she said, her voice a mix of curiosity and concern. "Knocked on your door for a good 10 minutes. Looked real upset." I paused my key halfway into my lock. I hadn't heard him, but then again I'd been out grabbing groceries. "Did he say anything?" I asked, forcing my tone to stay light. She tilted her head, studying me. Just muttered something about ungrateful kids and family responsibilities. She huffed her tone, taking on that classic old lady edge. "He should count his blessings. Not every parent gets a kid willing to help out." I managed a tight smile, mumbling a quick thanks before slipping inside my apartment. I leaned against the door for a moment, my heart thudding in my chest. He'd come here. He'd actually shown up at my door unannounced, like some stubborn ghost from my past. I spent the rest of the day checking my peephole before opening the door, every creak in the hallway making my pulse spike. I hated that they still had this kind of power over me, that the thought of them showing up at my door could still send me spiraling. That evening, as I sat in my small living room, the city lights blinking through my window, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Emily. "Hey," she said, her voice a bit too bright, the kind of forced cheer people use when they're trying to soften bad news. "Your mom just called me. She's kind of losing it." I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. "What now?" She said, "They're behind on some bills. Utilities, credit cards, even the mortgage." I felt a grim satisfaction settle in my chest. They were finally starting to feel the cracks. She said they can't figure out why everything's getting cut off. Emily continued, her tone hesitant. "I didn't say anything, but I thought you should know." "Thanks," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I appreciate it." There was a long pause, the kind that usually means the other person is building up to something. "Look," Emily said finally, her tone careful. "I know you're mad, and you have every right to be, but are you sure this is the way to handle it?" I stared at the half-empty glass of wine on my coffee table, the red liquid casting strange, shifting shadows on the wall. "It's not about being mad. It's about being done," she sighed, the sound crackling through the speaker like static. "All right, just be careful. Okay, family can get weird when they feel cornered. I will." I promised, though even as I said it, I wondered if I could really handle whatever came next. A few days later, my mom tried a different tactic. Instead of the usual angry voicemails or passive-aggressive texts, she left a long emotional voicemail. She must have practiced it, or maybe even written it down beforehand, because her voice was strangely steady, the words carefully chosen. "Sweetheart?" She began, her tone dripping with a false warmth that made my skin crawl. "I know things have been rough lately, and I understand if you're upset, but family is family. We've always taken care of each other even when it's hard. I know Darren's made mistakes, but he's still your brother and he needs us right now. Please just call me back. Let's talk this out." I deleted it without a second thought. The next morning, I woke up to a string of frantic messages from my dad. He'd gone full circle from angry and demanding to almost pleading. "I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to stop this nonsense. Family sticks together. We can work this out, but you have to stop acting like a stranger. Your mother's worried sick. She's not eating, not sleeping. You're breaking her heart. You'll regret this if you keep pushing us away." I tossed my phone onto the bed, staring at the ceiling as a bitter laugh escaped my lips. They were scared. For the first time in my life, I had them scared. A part of me wanted to pick up the phone to call them back and unload every bitter pent-up thought I'd ever had, to scream at them, to demand they finally see me, to force them to admit the years of neglect and emotional bruises they'd piled onto me in their blind devotion to Darren. But I knew better. They wouldn't change, they never had, and they never would. So I took a deep breath, stood up, and deleted their messages without a second thought. That afternoon, I changed my phone number. Let them call the void. About a week after I changed my number, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. "Hey, it's Darren." I froze, the phone suddenly feeling heavier in my hand. I hadn't spoken to my brother in months, maybe longer. He always felt like more of a distant recurring problem than an actual sibling. I kept my tone flat. "What do you want?" He let out a shaky breath, the kind you only hear from someone who's been cornered, running out of options. "Mom and Dad said you cut them off." "What the hell, man?" I closed my eyes, a bitter smile creeping onto my lips. "I just decided to stop being their personal tech support, free bank, and emotional punching bag." He huffed, the sound sharp and annoyed, like a bratty teenager being told to clean his room. "You're being dramatic. You know they need you. They're not good with this kind of stuff." I felt a sharp, hot anger flare up in my chest. "Yeah, and whose fault is that? Darren? Maybe if you weren't constantly dragging them into your messes, they'd have time to figure it out themselves." Silence. He wasn't used to me talking back, wasn't used to me pushing back at all. I could almost picture his stunned face, his mind struggling to process the fact that I wasn't just rolling over and playing the supportive older sibling anymore. "They said you took your name off everything," he said finally. His voice a bit less sure, a bit less cocky. "Yep," I replied, leaning back against my kitchen counter, my heart pounding in my ears. "Every bill, every account, every little thing they dumped on me over the years, I'm done." There was another long pause, then the line crackled as he took a deep, frustrated breath. "You're just making things harder for everyone. Mom's been crying for days, Dad's a wreck. You're acting like a selfish..." I cut him off, my voice sharp and cold. Don't you dare try to guilt me into cleaning up your mess again. You've had a lifetime of them bending over backward for you, throwing me to the side whenever you needed a bailout. I'm not playing that game anymore." He sputtered, clearly thrown off by my sudden backbone. "I'm not asking you to fix everything, just then figure it out yourself." I snapped, my grip tightening around the phone. I'm done being the second choice, the backup plan, the disposable one. If they care so much about you, they can lean on you for once. Before he could respond, I hung up. My heart racing. My hands shaking. I dropped the phone onto the counter and leaned forward, my breath coming in short, ragged bursts. For a long time, I just stood there staring at the cold white tile of my kitchen floor, my mind replaying the conversation over and over. I half expected him to call back to keep pushing, to demand I fall back in line like I always had. But he didn't. Instead, the next day I got a text from Emily. "Hey, your mom just called me again. She's really losing it. Said Darren's in some kind of trouble. She asked me to get you to call her." I let out a long, slow breath, my pulse slowly settling back to normal. I texted back a simple, "Thanks, but I'm out." She replied a few minutes later, a single sad face emoji. The days dragged by, each one a little quieter, a little freer. I started sleeping better, eating better, feeling a little less like I was constantly on the edge of a breakdown. Then a week later, there was a knock at my door. I froze, my heart leaping into my throat. I crept to the door, peeking through the tiny peephole. It was my dad. He looked older, more tired than I'd ever seen him. His shoulders slumped, his jaw clenched. He knocked again, harder this time, his fist rattling the cheap metal of my door. "Open up," he said, his voice a low, rough growl. "I know you're in there." I felt a cold, nauseating wave of dread wash over me, my hands clenching into fists. I thought about ignoring him, about just letting him stand there until he gave up and left. But something inside me snapped. Sighed. I yanked the door open, stepping back as he stumbled forward, his eyes wild, his face twisted in a mixture of anger and desperation. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he barked, his voice echoing down the narrow hallway. "You're tearing this family apart." I felt my jaw tighten, my pulse quicken, but I forced myself to stay calm. I met his eyes, my voice cold and steady. "You did that? Not me?" He opened his mouth, probably to launch into another guilt trip, another lecture about family loyalty and sacrifice. But I cut him off, my tone sharp and final. "You made your choice a long time ago. You chose Darren. You made it clear where I stand, where I've always stood. I'm done. I'm out. You can figure it out on your own." For a moment, he just stood there, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Then, without another word, he turned and stormed down the hallway, his heavy footsteps echoing off the walls. I watched him go, my heart still racing, my hands still shaking, but for the first time in years, I felt free. I closed the door, leaned against it, and let out a long, shuddering breath. I was really out. After my dad's hallway ambush, I expected things to escalate quickly. I braced myself for the barrage of calls, the guilt-tripped texts, the desperate attempts to pull me back into their chaos. But days passed, then a week, and all I got was silence. At first it felt strange, like walking into a room where the furniture had been rearranged while you were gone. I kept expecting the other shoe to drop, for Darren to come banging on my door, or for my mom to ambush me at work. But nothing happened. Then one evening, I got an unexpected message from an old high school friend, Jess. We hadn't talked in years, but she'd always been the type to keep up with the small-town gossip. "Hey, I just saw your parents at the grocery store. They looked rough. Everything okay?" I stared at the message for a long moment, my mind swirling with a strange mix of satisfaction and guilt. I considered ignoring it, but then I typed back a short, simple reply. "Yeah, they're fine, just going through some stuff." I tossed my phone onto the couch, leaning back as a deep, weary sigh escaped my lips. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? To finally break free, to force them to stand on their own, to cut myself out of their twisted little family script. A few days later, I found myself scrolling through my old emails, clearing out the clutter, when I stumbled across a series of automatic payment confirmations from years ago. Water bills, electric bills, even a few old insurance premiums. My chest tightened as I realized just how much of my life I'd poured into keeping them afloat. How much of my own money I'd thrown away in the name of family loyalty. I felt a fresh wave of anger rise in my chest, sharp and bitter, but I pushed it down, reminding myself that I was done, that I'd finally broken free. Then, late one night, I got another text from Emily. "Hey, so your parents just called me again? They said they're thinking about selling the house." I blinked at the message, my mind struggling to process the words. I hadn't expected them to fall apart this quickly, hadn't really thought about the long-term consequences of pulling my support. I just wanted to be free to finally take back some control over my own life. I typed back a quick response. Not my problem. She replied a few minutes later, a hesitant, "You sure?" I didn't answer. The next morning, as I sat at my kitchen table staring at the gray light filtering through my window, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the reject button, but then I took a deep breath and hit accept. Hello? For a moment, all I heard was the faint crackle of static. Then my mom's shaky, tear-soaked voice. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking on the word, "just talk to us. We're sorry. We made mistakes, but we're still your parents." I closed my eyes, the familiar tightness in my chest returning. I could picture her sitting in the living room, clutching her phone like a lifeline, her face twisted in that same desperate, pleading expression I'd seen 1,000 times before. I forced myself to breathe, to stay calm, to keep my voice steady. "I'm sorry too. Sorry. It took me this long to realize I was better off without you." I could hear her breath hitch the faint, muffled sound of my dad's voice in the background, demanding to know what I was saying, what I was doing. "I'm done, Mom," I said, my voice stronger now, the words coming easier with every syllable. "I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your second choice. I'm not your punching bag. I'm done." Before she could respond, before I could second-guess myself, I hung up. My hands trembling, my heart racing. I set my phone down on the table, staring at it for a long moment, my mind swirling with a chaotic mix of regret, relief, and lingering anger. For a moment, I thought I might break down, that the weight of my decision would finally crash down on me, but instead I felt a strange, unfamiliar calm settle over me, like the slow, steady rise of the tide. I stood up, walked to my front door, and stepped out onto the small balcony overlooking the street below. The air was cool, the city lights bright and distant, the steady hum of traffic, a comforting, constant reminder that life moved on. That time didn't stop just because my world had shifted. I leaned against the railing, closed my eyes, and took a deep, steadying breath. I was free. Story 2. My own family did not just support my ex-wife after my divorce. They essentially took her place of mine. They informed me and invited her to Thanksgiving. "You performed a few songs. As long as you don't say anything. Additionally, avoid making one of your pitiful scenes." "Don't worry," I responded. "Eating with strangers is preferable to sitting with traitors." I made a single move 5 days later that completely blew everything up. Sobbing, my cousin called me. "Everything is disintegrating. Please assist us in fixing it. For that reason, I'm just going to post this here. To be honest, I'm still furious and would like to know whether I'm the only one who finds this crazy. Simply scroll if family drama bores you. You'll likely understand, though, if you've ever felt like your own family put you on mute. Steer clear of trash. BC. Really. I don't know whether anyone finds it. The peace has been maintained. For background, I was divorced about 1.5 years ago, which was terrible but not startling. Crew Opal. My ex. We were together for over 6 years. I won't sit here and blame her for everything. I mean, I can be a little direct. Maybe I overuse the sarcasm, but I'm not really into the whole "let's talk about feelings for hours" thing. Opal's problem was that she was constantly in need of approval from others. In an attempt to be the nice guy in every circumstance, she would practically twist herself into a pretzel. Marriage is a sign of equality then. It turns out that they are not a good fit. In any case, this is the strange part. Most individuals find it difficult when their family is broken up, but they still can't recall who their real biological relatives are. Not my gang. Specifically, my mom, Faith, and my cousin Tucker. Opal was taken in by them like if she were their own. Also my Aunt Lorraine, and I don't mean to imply that we're being polite to the children. We don't possess any. I'm the mailman, and she's just behaving like she's still one of them. It's crazy. It was the group chat that caught my attention first, as if I was the only one. Lorraine, my sister, Tammy, my mother, and Tucker. All of a sudden, there are Opals. All of them are sending pictures from this pointless pottery night. Additionally, I see Opal's mug before everyone else's. Nobody even inquires about my desire to go. Then I see my own cousin post a selfie with an Opal tag, and everyone comments on it like she's the fun aunt, and I think, oh, we're having a pumpkin patch day. My phone is now lit up, but only because I can read all of their texts. I assume that no one is speaking to me in BC. In any case, perhaps they are only being courteous. Perhaps they find it awkward as well. NGL. I started turning off the chat since it was annoying me every time I watched them all interacting with her as if nothing had occurred. approximately 2 weeks before to Thanksgiving. My mother is calling me. She is speaking in a serious tone as if she were about to inform me that someone has passed away or something. I simply ask, "What's up?" She then goes on to talk about how stressful things had been. Additionally, she wants Thanksgiving to be drama-free. In fact, she says, "You are welcome, but only provided you don't say anything. And please refrain from pulling one of your pitiful scenes. Since July, I haven't even seen these folks, which scenes? So why would I be the issue here?" I ask. "Well, you know how you get," she adds. Arguments are inevitable. Opal only desires tranquility. I chuckle and inquire, "So Opal is coming then?" She responds by saying that she is obviously family and that she has been a huge help to all of us. How can I get support? My mother becomes very defensive and begins to babble about how Opal has been helping her out around the home and being there for her when she wanted to vent about me not calling enough, among other things. She even goes so far as to say that Opal truly listened as opposed to you? "So I'm just finished now. I'd rather sit with traitors and eat with strangers," I remark. She ends the call. Just ends the call. That's nothing new. Since I was a child, she has slammed the phone down on me. When she doesn't want to cope, it's her move. After that, I text Tucker and ask, "Are you serious? Don't make it about you," he simply advises. Opal has experienced a great deal, as in, what have I been missing? Have I passed away? And nobody informed me. I call my sister Tammy in an attempt to get some genuine answers. The only one who doesn't act as though I don't exist is her. She hardly participates though, since she's so over it. "Look, Opal is just a pleasure to be around," she explains. She assists and bakes. She gives everyone the impression that they are not being overly cautious. "You know how Mom is," she says. "You clash all the time." She enjoys hearing confirmation that she is correct. "You didn't do that?" Opal does. Tammy responds, "I don't know." When I ask if she thinks I should just roll over, perhaps just don't come? Give them some peace, like being ill regards. So I just kind of IDK existing for the next few days. I keep getting group chat notifications. Opal's making pies. Opal's helping Lorraine with her garden. Opal's teaching my mom how to use her new phone. Like, I'm not even mad at Opal. She's just doing what she always does, which is get everyone on her side by being helpful and sweet and letting everyone dump their problems on her. My family, though, that's another story. I think the reason they side with her is honestly because she's just easy for them. She never calls anyone out. She never pushes back. She'll literally listen to a 2-hour rant about how Tucker's ex stole his air fryer and she'll make him banana bread. Meanwhile, I push back when my mom says something out of line. I tell Tucker to stop whining. I don't pretend everything's fine when it's not. So yeah, I guess I'm difficult, but at least I'm not fake, so Thanksgiving comes around and I'm sitting there in my apartment scrolling through my phone and I get a snap from Lorraine table all set up right at the center, holding my mom's hand. Everyone's smiling. I see my own spot at the table, empty. It's not even subtle. I get it now, I'm not family and fine. If they want to pick Opal over me, that's on them, but I'm not just going to take it. I'm not going to sit here and let them act like I don't exist or like I'm some villain in my own life. So I start making a list in my notes app, just writing down every time Opals are home. Helped my family with something that used to be my job. Every time they ask her to do something, I used to do every time my mom lets her handle stuff that's supposed to be family. Only. I'm not even sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but it feels good to keep track. I'm not about to let them just erase me. I'm not going to be the guy who sits at home every holiday while my ex takes my place. If they want a traitor at their table, they can have her. But they're not getting both of us, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Not sure what my next move is yet, but I'm done being the nice guy. If anyone's got advice, drop it, BK. I'm not going to just sit here and watch my family get played. Not now. Next, it's probably going to get ugly, but TBH, I'm ready for it. One update. So after that Thanksgiving mess, I started noticing stuff. I guess I'd been ignoring. Like stuff that didn't even fully click until I was sitting there scrolling and realizing I'd basically been scrubbed out of my family's life. And Opal got my invite. I mean, I'm not talking about just the holiday, I mean everything. There's this thing where when you're suddenly the outsider, you start seeing all the little ways you were being replaced for months. I'd get texts from Tucker about random family things, but then I'd see on his stories that Opal's there hanging out at my mom's bringing food like she's hosting, not visiting. She's got her own mug at my mom's house that's new. She never even drank coffee when we were together. My cousin straight up posted a video of Opal showing Lorraine how to set up some TV thing. Like she lives there, my aunt's got her on speed dial now. It's always Opal. So helpful. Opal's got the best ideas, Opal. This Opal that? Like I'm not even a footnote. I asked Tucker what the deal was with that, and he just says it's not that deep, man. Opal's simply good at computer stuff. You know? Mom's hopeless with remotes? Yeah, certainly. But she also never phoned me for aid after the divorce. I suppose I'm not useful anymore. Then there was this incident with the cabin. So my grandma left this home upstate to the family, right? Not only my family, but it's split between myself, Tucker, and Tammy. For years, I was always the one handling the bills and upkeep. Not that, nobody said thanks. So I go check the group chat for the cabin after ignoring it for a bit, and it's all Opal's arranging a summer getaway. Opal's obtained bids for repairs. Opal is talking about making it more friendly. I click back and find my name's not even in the debate over who gets to utilize the apartment for July. No one even pings me for the vote, even though I co-own it. Dude, what's up with the cabin? I text Tucker. He simply dismisses it. Opal's claims to be assisting. Her plans are more popular with everyone. In any case, you're too busy. When I contacted Tammy about it, she responded, "Yeah, I tried to say you should be included, but Mom and Lorraine said it's just easier with Opal. You know how it is." She says, "Mom claims that scheduling with you is always challenging. Opal simply handles things." Tammy only sighs and responds, "I know, but I'm tired of fighting about it." When I remind her that the deed really bears my name, she doesn't even support me, just refuses to deal. I began to inquire around, but nobody really had a direct response. Opal's been such a blessing. Lorraine simply states, "She is keeping the family together, and for that you should be thankful." According to my mother, things may be different if you simply showed up more often. When I bring up the fact that you brought my ex to Thanksgiving and instructed me to be silent, she just shifts the topic. Claims that I have to make things about myself all the time. It's really crazy. Since Opal never says no, I understand that she's easy for them. She constantly gets small presents bakes and does the whole, "Oh, let me help you act like she did this with my friends too" thing. She consistently made herself the person who everyone save my family wanted to invite. I suppose I simply assumed people would remember who I am, but they like simplicity. Not truthful. Then I saw something that really irritated me. As a result, my mother frequently requested me to assist her with her expenditures, such as online purchases, autopay, setup, and so on. I continued to do it for a bit after the divorce, but then she said Opal had everything under control. Tucker has now informed me that Opal has gained access to my mother's accounts. I used to do things like handle passwords in detail. I ask my mother, "Are you serious? You're now giving your money to my ex?" All she says is that Opal is reliable. "You are constantly so pessimistic." She gives me a sense of control. "That's a terrible idea," I tell her. She simply lashes out at me, says, "I can come over and help if I'm really worried, but only if I can be nice for a while." I began making a point of retaining receipts, both physically and figuratively, after telling her that I'm not playing that game. I have all of the notes and screenshots. Every time Opal calls regarding the cottage, she mentions helping out with family matters. I'm never even informed of the plans she makes with my family. Even Opal's actions don't make me angry. I'm upset with my family for allowing it to occur. Even if I'm not perfect, I never imagined that they would just remove me in order to have someone who would never disagree with them. Lorraine then sends me a direct message asking if I can approve some papers for the cottage. "What paperwork?" I ask. She gives me this document which reads, "We need your information to help everyone set up new auto pay for utilities." I inquire as to why Lorraine seems protective when Opal handles the money. It's true that she's the only one keeping up. "You're late all the time. You don't respond. You're too occupied." I genuinely pay my share each year, I say. Nobody once mentioned that it was late. "Well, Opal will take care of it," she responds. "Just sign now." When I get at her apartment to speak, she lashes out, accuses me of creating drama, and slams the door when I tell her I won't sign anything until I've seen it. After saying, "Just sign it," Tucker texts me, "Quit making things difficult." It seems to be everywhere now. Opal is involved in something that I used to do. Every family gathering, every group chat, every stupid Christmas email. She is present. I'm not. I even asked my mother if I may stop over and discuss the cabin-related matters. "Only if you're not going to argue," she says. In any case, Opal is coming over to assist me with my taxes. I simply hung up. That's all. Really. I'm not doing this. I believe that the reason my family treats me this way is because even before Opal, I never cooperated. I've always been the person that speaks his mind, confronts the lads, and doesn't act like everything is okay when it's a mess, Opal. She's the kind of person who will nod, smile, and give you cookies while you disparage the person who really completed the task. My family therefore obtains what they desire. It's never awkward when someone doesn't push back. I suppose that's what they value, just a peaceful, argument-free life? Even if it means feigning my non-existence. As I sit there and watch this whole thing unfold, I realize that I'm going to be cut off from everything if I don't intervene. Financially, as well as emotionally, like the family accounts, the cabin, everything. Opal will simply be allowed to take over, not taking place. I'll sign anything they ask me to the next time I'm bringing everything I have with me. Nothing will be signed by me. I'm not going to back down. I refuse to allow them to alter history. Opal thus becomes the protagonist. And I'm simply the irate person who vanished. I've had enough of silence. They're going to get a fight if they want one. Therefore, fasten your seatbelt, because I'm going to make it impossible for anyone to ignore you. Opal can be had by my family if they so choose, but they will not receive my portion. No way. Are you prepared for the third round? The second update. Have you ever had the impression that people are talking about you but you are unable to provide evidence? I am not referring to paranoia, just these tangential feelings. Your family next year, for example. The strange ex-brother. Unless it's for money, no one wants to text. I became aware of the content that was not posted. Not only what did, for example, Tucker often sends me a joke about being the forgotten son. Yet he's always with Opal and not me in group photos. Opal is holding a pie in Lorraine's Facebook post about being thankful for new traditions, and it's my grandma's recipe, the one she vowed never to share. Crazy. I thus made the decision to enter via the front entrance without waiting for them to be pleasant. I organized a family gathering. But not literally, I sent texts to every member of the previous group conversation. Opal, who is not there, stated that we must discuss the cabin, the money, and all other matters, Tammy says. If this isn't just another argument, I'll come. Tucker isn't acting like my circus. However, I inform him that it is, simply put, you'd rather not get your hands filthy. Opal can manage it. Lorraine attempts to delay. No, this is for those who genuinely possess stuff. I say I'm left on red by her. I inform them that I will be bringing all of my documents. Please show me the receipts. What ideas do you all have for the cabin and the accounts? Tammy arrives very irritated. Tucker is running late. Lorraine is behaving as though she is in a dental office. Everything is printed out for me. Stacked folders. Not that I'm playing around. I begin by outlining the fundamentals. Look, I say. The cabin is not Opal's. She is not eligible to vote. She is not allowed to transfer funds. I show them the group conversations in which she is planning without my presence. The emails in which she is coordinating with the electricity provider. She's informing folks in the screenshots. I have no interest in the family. Every time I pay my part or am excluded from a decision, I show them. You'll need my signature, I say, if you wish to alter the way things operate. And until I'm respected, I won't sign anything. You're overreacting, yells Lorraine, is just assisting since you're never present? You treat me more like a problem than a person, so I tell her I'm not around. According to Tucker, Opal makes things simpler, but no one wants a battle. Easier for whom? I ask, it's simpler for those who choose to act as though I don't exist. And for once, Tammy is on my side. Yeah, this is getting strange, she says. Opal is in charge of everything, but why? Because she cares. Lorraine says all you do is complicate everything. We get into a fight. The voices are raised. There is no retreating. This is our family, not Opal's, Tammy exclaims, slapping her fist on the table. This is going too far. Lorraine pushes back her chair and gets to her feet, claims she isn't coping. Slams the door. Tucker makes an attempt to go. He is blocked by me. Say, you're not going to bail? Don't grab me, he says, pushing me. I can't solve your problems. You want to be an adult? I tell him. Then pretend that it's hot, like very sloppy. I don't mince words. I threaten to freeze the account until we resolve the issue if they continue to allow Opal to handle funds. The cabin is co-owned by me. I am protected by the law. And if you believe that I'm kidding, give me a try? Tucker laughs. Claims that you wouldn't treat us badly. You've already let me down, I say. What is the difference then? The group conversation with Opal is then displayed as Tammy takes out her phone, Cruz is too irate according to all these communications, so let's just move on without him. I was completely unaware of this one. I didn't want to interfere, but this is getting out of hand. She adds. I glance at Tucker. He simply shrugs, says, Crew, this is easier. Easy for you, not for me. I say, we're all just shouting now. When Lorraine returns, she threatens, I'll call Grandma's lawyer if you want to make things difficult. Check to see how you like it. Do it, I tell her. I will send all of my possessions. Can we just establish rules? Asks Tammy. Could we simply agree? Does Opal not receive a vote? Tucker gives me a look and asks, Okay, what do you want? Please stop acting like I'm dead. I say, she is your new brother too. It's really awkward. As if nobody were sobbing. However, it's evident that everyone is angry for various reasons. Peace is what Tammy wants. Tucker desires to go. Opal should be in charge, according to Lorraine. I want my life back. Bottom line, I say, I'll take everything to a lawyer if Opal tampers with another account, signs my name, or otherwise attempts to make judgments regarding my stuff. Do you wish to fight? Enough being nice. Tucker declares, All right. After that, we'll simply follow the book. I'm sick of you guys, Tammy says. She walks away, slams the door. Lorraine refuses to look at me as she sits down. You did this, I tell them. You have to live with the fact that you chose her over me. I get to my feet. Tucker makes an attempt to obstruct me. I push him aside, pick up my folder and leave. I'm angry when I get home, but I'm also strangely at ease. I am aware of my next course of action. I'm not playing a bluff. They want to use money and property to play games? I'll demonstrate to them what happens when you run afoul of someone who truly pays attention to details. It's amazing to see how quickly people change their ways when you're no longer helpful or convenient for them. Opal is what they desire. I won't let her take what is rightfully mine, but they are free to keep her. Never, ever. After I flip the switch, there will be more updates. Keep an eye out. The last update, I therefore gave it 5 days following that chaotic family meeting. I kept thinking that someone would text to try to patch things up or give me the typical guilt trip, but I never got one. The group chats were identical. I'm not in Opal's name everywhere. Me getting tagged in nothing. I guess they thought I'd just give up and fade out so they could keep playing house with my ex running the show. But nah. Not taking place, I started with the cabin. I pulled up all the doc's deed bills, the co-owner agreement Grandma typed up. Back in the day. All that. I double-checked every single payment I made, every signature, every message about repairs. I had it lined up so clean even Tucker couldn't ask. What they didn't realize is, you can't just vote a co-owner out and hope they stop asking questions. I called the management office, told them to freeze any new changes. No repairs or bookings. Nothing moves without my sign-off. I told them to provide that in writing to everyone on the file. I sent the family group with the legal notification attached. No warning. No, please. Just, if you want to utilize the cabin, come talk to me. Direct. Opal's not on the deed. She doesn't get to say, oh, and BTW, no more assisting with bills. All payments need to go via the official account, which I now manage. Then I manage the family accounts. I went to the bank and removed my name off anything Opal even touched. I phoned the bank manager, described the scenario, and asked them to flag the accounts for third-party access. They stated they wanted a written request, so I dropped it off the same day. Mom texted me later. Furious that her internet banking wasn't working the way Opal put it up. For once, speak to your own son. I said, not the daughter-in-law of your ex. She ended the call. I emailed Tammy, explained what I was doing and why, and advised her to speak with me if she wanted her portion of the cabin. Neither through Opal nor through Lorraine. She simply replied in writing, To be honest, I understand. I'm also sick of this. In an attempt to debate, Tucker called and said that I was penalizing everyone for not taking sides. You've already chosen, I said. When it comes to money or property, I'm just making sure you can't act as though I'm not present. Lorraine yelled at me over the phone, wondering how I could harm family members. I refused to back down from her attempts to guilt me over Grandma's desires. I was being vindictive, she said. No, I'm just enforcing what's actually legal, I said. The phone was slammed down by her. I had to laugh when I saw her post later that evening about how some people never grow up. Opal tried to call me first time in months. I let it ring out. She texted, said, Can we talk? This is hurting people. I didn't respond. She sent another, said, I'm just trying to help. Why are you making it so hard? I blocked her. The fallout was fast. Tucker began sending me messages within 2 days. Initially, I was furious. Then it's just desperate. The cabin trip is ruined, he said. Mom is freaking out. Lorraine is blaming everyone. Opal's crying. Nobody knows what to do. He said, "Can you please just fix it?" Everything is disintegrating, I told him. I warned you. You made your choice. I'm not coming to the rescue. I'm just making sure no one erases me out of my own life. Then Tammy called. She said, "Did you really freeze the accounts?" I said, "Yeah, I did." She said, "Honestly, I'm relieved. It's been messed up for months. They just let Opal do whatever because no one wants to deal with Mom and Lorraine. I told her if she wants to do things right, come to me. We'll figure out a system that doesn't involve random people running our stuff." She said she would. That's all I wanted the next weekend. I went for a run pass. My mom's place. Her car was there. Opal's wasn't. Lorraine's car was gone too. I didn't go in. I just kept going. Sometimes you got to let people deal with the mess they made. I'm not fixing it for you. I know people reading this are probably thinking, wow, harsh, but for if you let people treat you like you're disposable, they'll do it forever. My family wanted easy. Now they get hard mode. Opal wanted to play replacement. Now she's out of the game. I didn't break any laws, I didn't yell or threaten. I just used the facts and the rights I already had. You want to erase me? All right. But you're not getting my stuff or my silence, thus. Yes, guess I burnt the bridge. But TBH, it was already on fire. I just made sure nobody could walk back over it without asking first. No clue what the next holiday will look like. Don't really care? I got my life back and I'm not sharing it with traitors. If you're in the same spot, don't just sit there and take it. Remind people where the line is and don't be afraid to draw it in permanent marker. That's it for me. Hope somebody gets something out of this. Even if it's just the idea that you don't have to let people walk all over you for the sake of family. Sometimes you got to be the villain in their story to finally be the hero in your own. Done story. 3. My family pledged to support my recuperation following my operation. Rather, they left me alone without food or medicine while they went on a ski excursion. My brother told me not to guilt trip me when I phoned him. We're on vacation. Not your servants? I only muttered. I appreciate you revealing your true self to me. They were surprised by the choice I made 2 weeks later. I was inundated with 32 texts. Talk to us, please. We're pleading. All right. I'm not even sure where to begin. I've never posted here, but I'm furious. I have to get it out someplace. I just need to speak it all. I'm not asking for suggestions. I apologize if I'm rambling. Although everything occurred during the previous several days, the strange atmosphere actually began earlier. My left knee had surgery as a result. Nothing unusual. Real healing time as opposed to near-death experiences. I am unable to walk at this time and capable of driving. My relatives promised to assist. The lower portion of my parents' house is where I reside. Everybody contributes constantly. The youngest brother of my parents. He lives across town, is married, has no children, and is approaching 30. The oldest is me. I've always been in charge of handling things. That person who gets contacted when something breaks, someone needs a ride or a family event has to be planned, you know? I get that somewhat. Although I've always been dependable, I'm not always easy to work with. The rehabilitation guidelines were quite explicit. I need assistance with my meals. You must avoid stairs. Someone to provide my medications at specific times. Things covered with bandages. Every member of the family was helpful for surgery, a support plan, or anything else. Mom created an entire group chat. My brother just begins acting strangely around 2 days before to surgery. I overheard him discussing not delaying the trip once again with his wife in the kitchen. He will also be all right. He always is. I gave it up. I assumed he was simply under stress or something. My brother has always acted as though I'm acting. He'll joke that I'm simply seeking attention if I'm ill. He will roll his eyes. If I seek for assistance, I'm aware that he finds me overly sensitive. Additionally, my parents, my mother in particular, always say things like, "He doesn't mean it. He's only making jokes." To be honest, he has a lot on his plate. He consistently gets away with things. He would break something when we were younger, and I would be held accountable. I'm not even being dramatic. The day of surgery arrives. Everything is fine. On the first night, my mother stays with me. I sleep most of the time, and Dad comes and goes. The TV and I are alone in the living room the next day. Mom will be late, she texts. My brother has errands to run. I send a text message to the group chat. Hours pass before anyone responds. Day 3. In the morning, nobody stops by. I can't wake up quickly enough to get to the dumb shelf where they placed my medications. Even when my phone alarm goes off, I send another SMS. Nothing. I give my mother a call. It sounds, whatever. I'm irritated. They could simply be late. I hold off until lunchtime. Nothing has changed. I'm becoming dizzy and hungry. Other than some outdated yogurt, the refrigerator is empty and mustard, sort of. Since I filled it with freezer dinners before to surgery, no one has filled it again. I nearly pass out as I attempt to climb the stairs. I give my brother a call. The speaker is on. I hear music and breeze. "What's up?" he asks. "Hey, where's everybody?" I ask. "I need assistance." "We're on the road, man," he replies with a giggle. On his way to the peak. What, I wonder, who are we? "Mom, Dad, wife, him," he says. "They're heading out to ski?" I don't understand. I'm literally stuck here. I say I am unable to obtain my medication. "Come on, don't guilt trip me," he replies with a sigh. "We're on vacation, not your servants." "I'm a mature man," he says. "I'll be all right. I tend to exaggerate things a lot." "This isn't a joke," I say. "In fact, I'm hurting. You must return to me." "Sorry we planned this," he says. "You'll be all right. Order delivery or anything." I only mutter, "I appreciate you revealing your true self to me." He ends the call. I look at my phone. The group conversation is quiet. I attempt to call my mother voicemail. "Try father?" Likewise, I send my aunt an SMS. She says, "Oh, I assumed you were traveling with the family." Are you certain? I email her a picture of the empty kitchen with my leg brace on. She just adds, "Let me know if you need anything," and gives the thumbs up emoji. I'm in this strange daze of hunger and rage for the next few hours. I simply eat the old crackers I found in my room. The delivery man puts my order outside where it becomes cold before I can bring it inside since he is unable to enter the home. I try to chuckle at how ridiculous everything is. I hear my neighbor's vehicle in the driveway later that evening. I request that he assist me in getting my meals from outside. "Dude, where's your family?" he asks me. I provide an explanation. I give the group chat another go. Nothing on her story. My brother's wife shares a selfie. They're all wearing ski gear. Huge grins. My parents are seen in the distance. Sleeping is impossible for me. I simply keep playing that call again. I become more irate. I'm angry, not sad. I can't stop wondering how we got here, as though I've covered for them many times, cleaned up a lot of mess. I'm not perfect, but I've never abandoned a defenseless person. I plot all night long. Every time I bail someone out, I begin to make notes in my phone listing every favor I paid, all of the bills. Each time my brother crashed at my house or took my car, I begin to consider the economics of the family group and how everything is interconnected. I'm not going to sit here and eat crackers, but I'm also not saying I'm going to do something crazy or against the law. An apology is not something I'm waiting for. They're not listening if they believe this is over. All I have is a lot of receipts and time. I'm done being the family's fallback option, but I'm not even sure what the next step is. In any case, thank you for reading this far. I'll provide an update if anything occurs. I'm simply mad and creating lists right now, though. I'm not going to overlook this if anyone has advice on how to exact retribution without breaking the law. Not now. One update. I'm back then. I suppose I didn't think my last post would be read or taken seriously, but I'm glad you guys let me rant. I'm still living here. My knee is still jacked up. Other than the neighbor. That one occasion, no one has yet to appear in person. I've been here for a whole week now, eating microwave noodles and receiving shit every day since the ski trip. The strangest thing is how silent everything has been. The group chat is a cemetery in addition to the home, which is excessively silent. Not even a meme. After my brother hung up on me, nobody said, "Someone should at least appear to care and check in." Little remnants of what they left behind are what I keep discovering. As if someone had left a partially consumed coffee mug in the sink. Winter clothes have been left at the door. I took another look at the refrigerator. Still empty, but for some hardened cheese and the same old mustard. Even though I know there is nothing in the refrigerator, I keep opening it in the hopes of finding anything. To stay on top of things, I started compiling a record of missed medications on my phone. All day long, my alarms are going off to avoid having to risk the stairs. I attempted to move some items downstairs, but it's rather difficult. Once I slipped. It was a strange sliding against the wall, not a fall. However, it frightened me. I made another attempt to text my aunt. "Are you sure they left you like that?" she asks. "Perhaps you didn't understand. Come over and see for yourself," I urged. "I'm too busy." She simply says, "I thought my cousin might stop by, so I called him." Dude, I don't want to interfere with your relationship with your brother. You two fight over stupid things all the time. It's not a fight, I said. All I need is food. Why don't you have your groceries delivered? He asked. I did nothing to help bring it in. I said, I don't know, man, that's awful. He says, since I am literally unable to carry bags, I start ordering everything in small quantities, such as one meal at a time. I'm spending far more than I ought to. I won't lie. I'm mad at myself for not being more prepared, but I didn't anticipate their departure. A picture of my brother's wife's new ski boots was shared on social media. My mother wrote a very proud remark beneath a picture of my brother standing atop a hill. Not even a like on my post about the surgery, which means nothing to me. I began recording things, taking pictures of the kitchen, the empty house, and the medications that had been forgotten. I keep track of all the times I've assisted them in a spreadsheet paid for items. Things were fixed, helped them out when they were in financial need. Even though I have no idea what I'll do with it, having everything in one place is helpful. The thing that's driving me crazy is how everyone acts as though this is the norm. I've always been treated like I'm exaggerating by my brother, like I'm just sensitive. I get it. He's the favorite. He's always gotten away with stuff because my parents think he works hard or whatever. I guess they think I'll always just handle things no matter how bad it gets. I was on video call with my mom's friend. She checks in sometimes. She's cool, she said. Are you sure you're not just being dramatic? Maybe they thought you'd be fine, I said. I literally cannot get food. I missed meds. I can't make it up the stairs. She changed the subject to her dog. I get it. Nobody wants to believe a family can be that cool. I wouldn't have believed it myself a few years ago, but here we are. One night, I heard someone at the door. I thought maybe it was one of them, but it was just the neighbor again. He was taking out the trash and heard my TV. He asked if I was okay, and I just said, yeah. Everything is fine. I'm not all good, though. I'm pissed. I started thinking about all the ways they depend on me. Family chat. I set it up. I'm the one who keeps track of the bills. The shared stuff for the house, the group Netflix. I'm the one who calls the plumber when something leaks, the one who mows the yard when dad can't. I'm the reliable son. I thought about what would happen if I just didn't do any of that anymore. What if I left the group chat? What if I stopped paying the bills, stopped organizing the family stuff, stopped fixing things? What if I took my name off the account? So yeah, I started making a list. Every account I manage, every shared bill. I pay every favor I've done in the last year. Every time my brother borrowed money and forgot to pay back. Every time my parents called me to fix something and I dropped everything to help. I messaged my brother. I said, I hope you're having fun, he said. Maybe you should learn to be more independent. I didn't even reply. My mom finally texted 2 days ago. She says we'll be back soon. Hope you're okay, sweetie. No apology? I didn't bother responding. I'm not going to yell or slam doors or start a fight. I'm just done. I'm going to make sure they feel it, though. The thing is, I know exactly how to get to them. Hit them where it stings. Not by yelling, but by pulling my weight out from under them. So, next steps. I'm moving my stuff out of the shared spaces. I'm changing the passwords to anything with my name on it. I'm taking my name off the bills. I'm letting the group chat die. I'm not going to their next family dinner, even if they beg. I'm not going to be the one who makes it all okay this time. I don't know. I guess I just needed to say it out loud. This story isn't over. I think they actually believe nothing's changed. But I'm done playing the bad guy for standing up for myself anyway. If you've ever had family treat you like a free ride, you probably get it. I'll update again if they ever bother to show here or understand what they've done. I'm not waiting on it, though. I've got other plans. Update 2. So yes, I warned y'all last time I was done playing the backup plan. I was honestly waiting to see whether anyone in my family would even notice the change. But what's remarkable is how long it took for the first ripple to impact, I guess. When you're the one who quietly keeps things operating, no one really notices until something really begins breaking down. The first true indication was so trivial, yet it made me giggle. My brother texted me asking for the code to the family's storage unit. This isn't some random storage stuff. This is where everyone dumps their winter clothes. Old books. Even the ski things. I say, he says, could you please send the code? I merely said that I was unavailable. After 3 question marks. He doesn't say anything. My mother texts me the next day to inquire as to why the house insurance auto-pay rejected. I inform her that I removed my name from the account. She says you'll have to do it yourself. I told you that you couldn't just do that without telling us I'm here because you left me. I'm no longer in charge of you. My dad, who seldom ever texts unless he needs something mended, starts sending me more messages. This isn't like you, he says. Yes, it is now, I reply. I am no longer seeking drama, but I am also no longer carrying everyone. I canceled all of the regular payments associated with the house that was in my name by going via my bank Wi-Fi and utilities. Even the garbage collection service, I kindly informed everyone using the shared email address that they would have to set everything up independently if they wanted to keep things working. Simply facts, not a drama. My brother will be the most irate, I'm sure of it. Although he has always pretended that I am theatrical. He is content to rely on me for everything. He has a strange grudge against me for being the weak one. Yet all of a sudden he only contacts me when he needs a loan or a lift. I just stopped responding to his texts and didn't read them. The most embarrassing moment, to be honest, was when my parents returned from their vacation. Upstairs, I could hear them fighting and smashing doors. Without knocking. My mother unlocked the basement door and strode down the hallway. Not even a hello from her, I just got started. Why are you behaving this way? We are related. You can't just abandon us. After surgery, I remarked, you left me here by yourself? It was bad timing, she stated. The vacation was organized long ago by your brother. We assumed you would be all right. You didn't care when I told you that I wasn't all right. I was being childish, she remarked. I informed her that I was no longer your safety net. She stomped back up and shut the door. I think my brother wanted to shout in person, which is why he came that weekend. He opened the door and began. This is being exaggerated by you. Do you want us to plead with you? I said, for once, I want you to clean up your own mess. I shoved him away after he got in my face, although he made an effort to appear intimidating. He is really just talk. You're ruining the family, he said. Mom is not happy. Dad is furious. Perhaps you ought to have considered that before you left me here, I added. He stormed out after calling me a jerk. In the meantime, things began to accumulate. Unpaid mail and bills are piling up. It had been ages since the yard had been mowed. I always did that. It was rather pleasant to watch my dad attempt to mow it alone and give up in the middle. My parents reportedly tried to get my uncle to fix the Wi-Fi, so he contacted me a few days later to inquire what was going on. I explained everything to him. That's rough, he replied. Going somewhat silent, but your mother, you know. She detests confrontation. Maybe she should try preventing it, definitely, I remarked. It's not as though everyone agreed with me. You should just let it go. According to a message from a few cousins, family is involved. They wouldn't have left you alone, I told them. Why, therefore, is it acceptable to me, however it was? The money that truly got to them. The next family gathering had to be rescheduled, so my brother texted me in a rage. It's always me who makes the reservations. The shared cottage lease literally includes my name. It's not my problem, I told him. I'm pulling out of all agreements. I was being spiteful. He added, I'm just doing what you taught me, I said. Even my mother began to phone many times a day, alternating between appealing and furious. It was brief. No enthusiasm. It's not my issue. Sincerely, this isn't about retaliation for the purpose of retaliation, despite what some people may think. The goal is to prevent them from stepping all over me once more. They said unequivocally that I am only there to assist till I need anything. They may now experience what it's like without me to save the day. To be honest, I became bolder. I instructed the bank to divide the joint account over the phone, collected my half, and let them handle things on their own. I sent an email to the family home's property manager stating that my parents, not me, should henceforth handle any maintenance needs. For a while, I even banned my brother on social media to avoid seeing his sulky tweets about treachery in the family. The finest aspect. My phone has been exploding. Days have passed since I last checked the group chat, but all I saw was endless messages. Everyone suddenly has urgent issues that need to be resolved. It's too late. I won't tell lies. None of this makes me feel particularly good. I still limp around, get frustrated, and spend most of my days in the basement. I'm not going to back down even though I have to go to great lengths to be treated like a human. It's not a phase, I am not their fallback option, and I won't be again. They can text, call back, or do anything else. I'm not going to change my mind now. The lesson I had to learn in this house by myself is the lesson I want them to learn. I believe I've made my point, so this will likely be the last post. However, if you are the one who keeps your family together, don't be scared to show them what life is like without you. For one last update, being the bigger person sometimes simply means standing your ground and letting others clean up their own mess. Know what's crazy? You have to turn your phone face down to escape the noise when it keeps going off. Additionally, it comes from the same individuals who abandoned you when you needed them. I had 32 unread texts when I got up today. To be petty, I counted all caps, it's all guilt, it's all pleading. Talk to us, please, pick up, please, don't do this, please. However, I was a ghost in my own home 2 weeks ago. Though not to this extent, I suppose I expected it would blow out someday. I assumed they would become irritated. Start a drama, perhaps. However, this was a whole other level. I have been removing myself from everything for the past 2 weeks. Bills will no longer be paid. No more fixing stuff, no longer being the backup plan. I removed everything I had from the communal areas. I removed my name from as many accounts as I could. I instructed the property manager to forward all correspondence to them. I even placed the extra keys on the kitchen counter after placing them in an envelope. I didn't glance back, but I also didn't slam the door. It's funny, since the first few days were just quiet. My folks pretended nothing had occurred when they got home, as if we hadn't just had it out. My brother texted me about a stupid meme. I hope you're getting enough sleep, my mother said in her voicemail. If you need anything, let us know. I just removed it. I noticed that the yard was piled high with rubbish. A mess. The mail on the porch getting wet. And I didn't do anything for once. Then I heard my parents arguing over the bills upstairs. Mom was certain I had simply neglected to make the payment. My dad was whispering to me that this is what occurs when individuals get very at ease. My brother made an effort to appear unconcerned. Once I didn't answer, he walked over and rapped on the door. After calling me 3 times in a succession. I kept the door shut, but I let him shout for a while. I was being immature, he said. He kicked the recycling bin, and I heard it very mature. A few days later, I received an SMS from my aunt. Your mom is worried, she added. Could you give her a call? I assured her I was all right, she typed. Are you certain you're not going overboard? For fun, I emailed her a photo of my empty kitchen from the previous week. She didn't respond. Later, my cousin sent me a message on Instagram telling me to forget about it, family. Not when they abandon you to rot and go skiing. I said I was abandoned on the scene by him. Seeing them scurry was the greatest part. My brother made an effort to plan a family meal. Typically, I handle the group chat invites, reminders, and reservations. He texted everyone, but half of them didn't respond. My folks attempted to enter the storage unit. I suppose they genuinely phoned customer support to voice their displeasure with the one for whom I changed the code. The manager called and asked whether I wanted to move the account, make it theirs. I said, I'm finished. At last, my father lost his temper and began to recite the traditional words. This is being exaggerated by you. Your mother's anxiety is making her ill. You all went skiing and I told him I was unwell. He ended the call. I began to notice small changes. My mom phoned me because she was having trouble with the online bill pay. I said that I no longer use those accounts? Asked my father. I was being harsh. She said, I'm just taking care of myself as you instructed. I said. The phone was slammed down by her. Last week, I ran into my brother at the grocery. Extremely awkward. He made an attempt at humor. Are you now ignoring the entire family? I simply remarked, glancing at him. You claim not to be my servant. I suppose you don't require my assistance in any way? He attempted to dismiss it with a joke, but I left. The group conversation was the last straw. All that's left is a wall of texts. I'm getting spam from my brother, mom, dad, and even my aunt. Talk to us. Please, we're pleading. What are you looking for from us? We are related. It wasn't our intention. In one morning, 32 texts were sent and not a single one expressed regret. Not once. I won't pretend that this was simple. It was awful. It's still awful. I'm still limping and learning how to take care of myself. However, I am aware that I am not doing it for those who would abandon me. I now have my own room, groceries in my refrigerator, and my own account. The neighbor with whom I simply spoke is, to be honest, more helpful than my family has ever been. I'm not sure if they will ever understand. Perhaps they will simply go on and act as if nothing occurred. Perhaps my mother will continue to tell others that I'm experiencing a difficult situation. Perhaps my brother will continue to make fun of me for being overly theatrical. I no longer give a damn. I'm not responding, but I'm also not blocking. I let the messages to accumulate. I occasionally browse through it only to observe how desperate it becomes. After all, it seems right, even if I know it sounds trivial. If you're anticipating the scene when we all give each other hugs or whatever, that isn't taking place. I am no longer the family fixer. They let me know how much I meant to them. I'm just giving it back. Thus, yes. 32 messages, all of them pleading it's too late. Right now I'm doing well. Perhaps I will provide an update if something crazy occurs. However, in my opinion, this is the end of it. Maybe just take a moment to observe what happens if you're reading this and you're always the one cleaning up after everyone. The speed at which they detect your absence may surprise you.